Hi and welcome to Landcycle. Another video for you, and in this one I'm just going to show you something that's pretty straightforward to get to grips with, but it's actually a very interesting picture when you think about what we're doing here. So what you can see is a map of predominantly the sort of the southeast of the country, England, and people often ask me actually, does the greenbelt cover the whole country? Well, there are pockets of greenbelt, and the easiest way to answer that question is to show you. So, planning constraint, up-to-date greenbelt 21-22, click it on, you can see that's the greenbelt. Most of it's surrounding London, but there is other bits in Surrey, out towards Bristol, and there is some further north Midlands as well. But it certainly doesn't cover the whole country, but it covers a lot of the country. Now, I won't go into the detail as to why greenbelt makes it very difficult to achieve planning consents within greenbelt. That's a whole new video. I probably will do another video on development in the greenbelt. But what I wanted to show you now is, if you think about housing and development and building, the government are talking about building housing targets of 200,000 homes a year. Lots of reasons why that's very, very important. But if you look at all of the constraints that local authorities and central government have imposed on planning permissions and planning opportunities, then you'll see why it's actually planning in this country is very, very difficult. So I'm going to flick all these on, and it's quite staggering actually how much of a restriction it places on opportunity to submit planning applications on either small, or what I'm really talking about is outside settlements, strategic land, strategic schemes of more than 100, 200 up to 2,000, 3,000 homes. So let's go for it. So national parks, and you can see this, I'll do it a little bit further out. So AONB, that stands for Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty, Flood Zone 2, Flood Zone 3, Ancient Woodland, Registered Common Land, OS Green Space, National Forestry, Local Landscape Designations, Emergency Planning Zones, and you can see from this perspective it's covered predominantly the majority of the country. Now you'll notice actually I'm looking at this on the OpenStreetMap layer, sorry, the OL layer, which has not got as much detail as OS data, so it's easy to sort of zoom out and have a look around from a much more national perspective as to these planning constraints. The other thing you can put on here is school locations, which is very interesting, and ecology, so special areas of conservation, sites of scientific interest, special protection areas. And then we move on to what we've called listing and historical layers. So listed buildings, they appear as dots. Scheduled monuments, something a bit more prolific is conservation areas. A lot of London is a conservation area. Parks and gardens, World Heritage Sites, registered battlefields. So you can see we've also got the retail that show up as points on the map as well. Retail sections over retail 280 to 1400 square metres, 1400 and so on and so forth. And you've also got grade 1 and grade 2 agricultural land. So you can see very clearly that actually when we talk about development opportunities, there's not very much land left to develop in. There are pockets, and then if you start to bring in other constraints like value, is it viable to develop in certain areas? Obviously that's where the land registry layer is very interesting and very important. But most of the land that you see outside of the settlement boundaries is, certainly in the southeast, is very heavily constrained. And that's, well, people want to live close to London, people want to live at a commutable distance to London, and there is very few houses being built in this area because of these imposed constraints. So when we talk about developments in the greenbelt, is it appropriate to develop in the greenbelt? The argument is, in my view, parts of the greenbelt should be protected, but parts of the greenbelt should be released for housing development, because otherwise we're just not going to have enough housing for our children and our grandchildren. And some greenbelt is not as valuable as others, so there will be sections of greenbelt that have got natural defensible boundaries that's stopping a development from sprawling into other sections of greenbelt. And I'll do another video on strategic land opportunities at another time, but I just wanted to show you the power of Landcycle and its constraint layers when you put them all on, and you can see it's actually quite an interesting visual picture. The picture speaks for itself. You can see why planning in this country is so difficult to achieve. Hope you found that interesting. Thanks for now. Bye bye.